Hello everyone and welcome to another Toonkind at 12 FPS. I am Wick and today this is Reparations or Repair-ations, and I am joined by the lovely
Oatmeal, hello. And I will be playing the professor today.
Yeah. And speaking of which, Professor, what are you doing right now?
The professor is either entering or in a some sort of tailor shop or something because he has a problem. And that problem is that his coat is an absolute wreck. And he would like to have it fixed.
Well, you've come to the right place. You have found yourself in the doorway of Campbell's clothing store, which does also provide tailoring. Uh, you saw a little bit of signage on the storefront saying that they did provide some mending services besides actually using mending. They do sewing.
Yeah.
So now you are here, and there are clothes everywhere. There are just racks upon racks of of clothing shelves, racks of shelves. Yes, this makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
Nice, nice.
this place does not make a whole lot of sense. Some things are by color, some things are alphabetized, and you're not sure how. Uh, there is just one section that has soup. You're not really sure about that, but
Oh my God.
what you do
Okay. Yes.
recognize
I got
uh,
it.
is that not too far away, there is kind of like it's front desk like, but it's actually just like a cashier. Like there's a register and stuff.
Mhm.
And there is an employee that is behind the desk. They are currently facing away from you and just kind of, I think they're either wrapping something to be
Mhm.
sent off later, something
Mhm.
like that.
Okay. Um, let's see. I think he knows what he wants, so he's going to go to that the cash register the station, the desk, and just sort of tap on the desk a bit and say, uh, "Excuse me."
Ah, welcome to the. As they turn around,
Oh no.
you recognize this person. Welcome to Campbell's. How may I help you? And dressed
Why,
in
Amaryllis?
yes, dressed in a blouse and uncharacteristic apron of sorts. Yeah,
Mhm.
this is Amaryllis, and they are rather surprised to see to see you.
Would you like to roll insight?
Yes, please. Hold on, let me. What's my insight? Oh, okay. All right, that's a 17.
Oh, geez. Okay, well, um, okay, he is um a little bit surprised, but that quickly turns into a grin and a sort of glint in his eye that reminds you of something a long time ago. Somebody uh you heard somebody say something about how the humanoid form was made to be was made for hunting, and you are inexplicably reminded of that fact
Oh no.
uh, from the look in his eye.
Oh jeez. And
But he is smiling, and he Amaryllis.
and would you like to roll insight now?
Absolutely. Okay. Okay, I got a 17 as well.
Oh, shoot. Let's see. Oh, yeah, no. Amaryllis cannot hide it. You can tell that she does have she, when she initially turned around and recognized you, her face did drop for a moment, but now it is in this rather polite smile. But you can tell from the corners of said smile and the look in her eye that she is certainly not pleased to see you. She is merely keeping up appearance.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
What can we do for you today?
He hesitates a minute and just sort of like, he, he tilts his head down, and just sort of like shakes his head, like, of all the things. But like, he looks back up, and he says, well, I'm looking for a possible consultation on some extensive repair work on an article of clothing.
And when you say this, I will, I'll keep your insight roll. You could tell by the look on her face, it's saying, like, I can't pass this to anybody else. Oh, shit.
Oh,
But
man. Nice.
but she nods in understanding. Okay, what is the article in question?
He shrugs off the coat because he's just wearing it, and turns it around, and lays it on the counter to display the specifically, I mean, it's all a mess. It's all tattered and ragged and stuff, but he is specifically displaying the blast mark and accompanying hole in the sort of back, was it left shoulder? And he says, now I have mending, and I know how to mend, and I also have prestidigitation. However, this is a magical article of clothing, and this is a pretty magical bit of damage, and I haven't been able to fix it.
Professor, when you display this onto the counter, you can see her face kind of crumple in disgust for a moment. But she does kind of smooth it out a bit as you explain that it is magical and that the damage is also magical. And now she does actually look rather intrigued. She actually takes down a pair of spectacles from her hair and puts them on and takes a closer look.
Do you want to roll like investigation, I guess?
Oh, yeah.
Or
I guess.
or Arcana.
Arcana or investigation? I will go with investigation.
Fair.
That's a 7. Beautiful. Amaryllis, you're doing great.
It's a coat, and you think maybe once upon a time it was white. It is not white anymore. It is a light gray.
I won't make you roll perception or anything for this, but as she's looking, you hear her mutter, oh, I knew it'd be this disgusting thing.
he just sort of like snorts and crosses his arms.
Sorry. Well, is there anything else?
Well, I suppose you ought to know what it is. You see, it is a particular version of let's see. There's a few other sort of items like it. They're usually called they're usually more fashioned into robes. And they're rather, I mean, they're fairly rare, to the point of even being called legendary by some. But what they call the others of this the other garments of this type, they are typically called robes of the Archmagi.
And when you explain this, she does have an eyebrow raised. She seems intrigued, but she also seems rather skeptical. Huh. So, I suppose the first thing that we need to do is get it a little more. And she kind of picks up a corner of it with two of her fingers. A little more clean.
Good luck.
Well, I know just the person for this. And she actually goes over to one of the sides of the counter, and there's like a little intercom. You know, the ones in a store.
Sure.
So she kind of hits the button and goes, Casey, wherever you are in the store, can you come over to the front? And she kind of just walks back over to the professor. She'll be here momentarily. In the meantime, what do you expect us to do? Do you just want it stitched? Is there a particular pattern?
Particular what?
A pattern. Like, you want a patch on it? Like,
oh. He shrugs and just says, I'd like it to be a functional coat again and not look so horrific.
And and she nods. That makes sense. And but the look on her face says, like, at first you notice, why don't you just buy a new coat? But then she doesn't say anything, though, and instead she kind of reconsiders. She remembers, like, oh no, wait, this is a very important coat, and I get it.
Yeah. And he actually, I think he like pushes it further up the table and says, there is something I should point out. Let's see, this blast here, that was a rather lasting what was radiation damage, radiant damage, sort of an arc of electricity from I suppose both electric and radiation, but so that was rather permanent, and well, not necessarily permanent, but I mean I haven't been able to get rid of it thus far. And he points at the one of the stains, the big stain, like on the trim, on the bottom of the coat, and he says, "This is Beholder Ichor. I don't know how to get it out."
And If Amaryllis could look any more skeptical, she is extremely skeptical. However, that expression kind of fades when you see another employee come up to the side of the desk. Oh, Casey, you're here. Good. If anyone knows how to get things clean, it's this one. And she actually just kind of plucks the coat off from the desk and kind of hands it over to this other employee. And they're dressed very similarly to Amaryllis, but they have these very round glasses on. The lenses are like flashed in like they're in such a way that you only see like the lens flare, like
Yeah. No pupil glasses.
They are also wearing a mask and gloves.
Curious.
They look at you, Professor, and say, "Is that all?"
I suppose so.
And this stain, and they point to the one at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
You said it was
Beholder ichor, beholder blood.
and they nod. Think you can handle it? And Casey nods in their direction. And you see this employee just walk back off with your coat. And now it's the two of you.
Fantastic. I think he's going to straighten back up and sort of tilt his head down a little bit and say, now I'm not going to hold you to the Customer Service Act right now, but I have some questions.
And when you say that, her face kind of contorts a little, like she wants to drop the polite act, but is also hesitant to do so. But you kind of see her eyebrow twitch a little bit. Well, if you have specific questions, perhaps we should move elsewhere. And she actually points to this long, kind of this longer work area that's actually not too far off.
Sure.
So she motions for you to follow, and the two of you go over to this workbench where you're assuming the tailoring will be done once the article of clothing is clean.
Sure.
Or at least as clean as it can be. Who knows?
Indeed.
But she motions for you to take a seat, and she sits down as well.
All right. Let's see.
So, how many questions? I am not here for an interview or interrogation.
Well, I don't know. It'll depend on how many answers you give me. Amaryllis, how did you find out that Talkie wasn't just a toy?
And you see her take kind of a sharp breath through her nose, and it looks like she wants to say one thing, but then sighs and goes, well, there's no use in being deceitful. Well, it was Annie. Annie figured it out and told me.
Right. Do you know how Annie figured it out?
She kind of gives a wave of her hand. I have no idea.
All right. So Annie told you that it was a demonic being. Is that right?
She gives kind of an impatient sigh. No, she did not. She told me it was some kind of patron.
Mm-hmm. And you assumed it was a demonic being of some kind.
And now she shifts so that she's leaning a little to the side and gives you a little side eye.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I did.
Right. So why take it away?
And she actually turns to face forward again. Do you know what a patron is?
Of course I know what a patron is.
Do you have one?
No, absolutely not. Never.
I didn't think so. So I don't think you would quite understand.
Hmm.
A child that... Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, he just doesn't. Yeah, Amaryllis said you wouldn't understand, and he is just absolutely like, no, you have no idea. Like, look, I may not have one, but there's a reason for that. Anyway, yes.
A child shouldn't be in a pact with a patron. That was the difficulty.
Well, I think it would depend on the nature of the pact. One might say that a guardian of a child has something of a pact with them. They give each other certain rights in exchange for services and resources and obligations.
Again, she kind of raises her eyebrow. You're using that kind of analogy. We were supposed to be their guardian.
And look what a fantastic job you did of that.
And who are you to comment on our parenting skills?
Oh my God. God damn. Look, okay, I have to roll something now. Shit. Okay, all right. Con save. Is he gonna
Oh shit, let's go.
Yeah, that's not gonna
Uh-oh. I've got a bad feeling about this.
No, wait, and this wasn't 7 plus it was 7 plus 3. 7 plus.
Uh-oh.
Okay, he got a 10. That's nope.
Uh-oh.
So the question was, who are you? He says, I am a father. I am a grandfather. And I know family. I know children. I know children, and I know how important it is to protect them. And I know what it's like when they're gone. When it isn't enough.
And as you say this, when you say that you are a grandfather really looks kind of surprised, but that shifts to just this intense concentration as you finish speaking, and she doesn't say anything for a moment as she kind of just looks down at the table.
Mm.
And she takes a quick breath and stands up. I agreed to questions. I didn't agree to being scolded. Now, let me get a few things ready. And she turns to face away from you, and there are actually a couple of shelves nearby. She go.
He sneers at what she says and just sort of straightens up to sort of regain his composure. And yeah.
You can see her, just getting one or two things off of the shelves. And could you make a perception check, but with advantage, because you guys are actually pretty close in proximity.
Mm-hmm. Perception. And oh, Professor, another 10.
A 10 and...
Just a 10?
I said you had advantage.
Oh! Sorry.
No, that's okay. I was waiting for the second the second number.
Yep. No, I totally forgot to roll it. Okay, the other one's a 16.
Stick good.
In there.
So there is one box that she is trying to get up on the highest shelf, and she does have to kind of go on tiptoe to get it. As she does, the sleeves of her blouse kind of fall down a little bit. And you notice on the inside of her wrist a series of red interlocking runes.
Oh.
But she gets the box down with a little difficulty, but she kind of straightens herself out a little once she gets it.
Mm-hmm.
She returns to the table and places a couple items down.
Mm-hmm. He raises an eyebrow and says, now, how about you? Do you have personal experience with a pact?
And almost instinctively, she kind of makes a move to check her wrists. But she only adjusts the sleeves.
Mm-hmm.
And how is that any relevant? We're talking about Bevan, aren't we? This has nothing to do with me.
No, I suppose not. But if you were going to get on my case about my parenting experience, then I thought it only fair that I ask about your position on pacts and what authority you might have on the matter. As I said, I haven't entered into any warlock pacts. Perhaps you have more insight than I do there.
She kind of purses her lips, and she opens her mouth to say something. When you see kind of another head peek into view. Ma'am. And Amaryllis turns to Casey. Oh, Casey, what is it? It's going to be about, and they check their watch, about 10 minutes longer. I apologize for the inconvenience. Oh, no, don't worry about it, okay? Just take as much time as you need as long as you get that thing clean. And Casey just kind of nods, and you see her head kind of just move out of frame.
He raises his eyebrows expectantly.
And she actually looks a little irritated. She kind of pinches the bridge of her nose. It isn't really any of your business, but I do have a pact. And I know how it is. And as she speaks, she sits down and starts arranging the stuff that she had brought down. You see like some scissors, you see different kinds of thread, a few sewing needles.
Mm. Uh-huh. And perhaps I'm barking up the wrong tree, but does it have anything to do with the twins?
She did have a rather somber look on her face, but when you mention that, it kind of breaks into a little bit of confusion. That the twins?
Only because I didn't recognize the language you were speaking there with them.
Oh, well, they're foreign tunes. They must have some kind of lineage that overlaps, you know.
All right. He does seem to accept this explanation. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh. Yeah. He thinks for a second, and he says, "Is there anyone else that Annie has chased out of the troop?
And
Or forced out of the troop?"
that she meet words. She actually kind of gets this look on her face. It's you're not quite sure what it is, but it does not look, pleased or anything. No, there's been no other incident besides.
No? Besides Bevan.
That's right.
What about Coda?
And
Did they really leave on their own?
she stops in her arrangement of the measuring tape and whatnot, and she goes, that definitely wasn't her.
He nods slowly. All right.
But she raises an eyebrow. What's with this line of questioning? I thought we were keeping things simple.
I'm trying to look out for Bevan. For that, I need to understand Annie.
Well, if you want to understand Annie,
I'm
maybe you
going
should just...
I am going to talk to them. But I don't plan on believing everything that they say, and I don't know if they even know everything about the situation. So a little bit of background knowledge could help.
And she actually scoffs a little bit. You're really going to question another child about this? I know that she was the culprit behind this, but really, why do you think we didn't get the police involved?
Well, I did wonder. And truth be told, I am new to Inkwell, and I cannot tell for the life of me how old toons are and what ages or what appearances actually indicate maturity. I've been told it's complicated.
And whoever.
So
So?
so I wasn't sure what the situation was with Annie.
Well, whoever told you that it was complicated was right. It is very complicated. And she has this look on her face like, yeah, it's really be like that. But we've had Annie on the troop for about as long as, and she kind of counts on her fingers, about as long as Bevan's been alive. It's been 6 years. We picked her up when she was 11.
I see. And how well did the troop raise Annie? And his face doesn't look as judging as you might expect from that question.
And she actually furrows her eyebrows a little. Well, see, she was a bit different than Bev, I mean. See, we found Bevan when they were 2, and of course they needed some kind of guardian. And we adopted them since we asked around, but nobody claimed them, is the thing. But Annie, she has parents,
His eyes widen a little bit.
She wasn't lost. She ran away and came to us.
I see.
And believe me, Pappy has tried multiple times to contact her parents, and each time, well, she'd always make some kind of fuss. It was rather odd.
Why is it odd?
Well, and she kind of has this faraway look in her eye, like, huh. As if she's remembering something else. No, you're right. It isn't that odd, now that you think about it.
Not that I know, or honestly have any hint of their home situation, but the fact that they ran away, well, people don't usually run away for nothing. And he has a knowing look in his eyes.
And she can't help but kind of crack a bit of a smile. Yeah, I get that one.
Oh, yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Believe it or not, I used to be a bit of a wild child in my youth. And she does attempt to look like sophisticated, but then she's like, yeah, no, I'm not much of a lady, am I?
I think he laughs a little bit.
And believe me, I didn't really appreciate all the meddling of my own parents. So, I guess I get where she's coming from. But it's important to have some kind of guardian.
Yes, on that we agree.
But, it's funny, Pappy did want to adopt her. Very much, but when he found out that she had parents, well, he couldn't really do much about it. Even if he wanted to go through legal channels, the courts cost a bit of money.
Yes.
And, well,
It certainly takes some doing to emancipate oneself.
yes. So really, they were just holding out until she became an adult. And then that way, they wouldn't have to worry anymore. But then this whole thing happened, and...
Yes. Has Pappy ever raised his hand against Annie before?
And clear as day, you can see the disgust on Amaryllis's face. Oh, heavens, no. Well, at the very least, not that I've seen. And we always keep a good eye on each other.
Mm-hmm.
But to think that you would suggest something like that.
Well, I only suggest it because of what I saw back at the inn. Back when we were confronting Annie after they'd been restrained. And I believe Pappy had some strong words, and I think Annie said something back, and he raised his hand, and Annie flinched. And that could have just been a reaction to just a one-time reaction to a one-time threat made in anger. People make mistakes. But it was worth asking about, I felt.
And now you can see plain as day on her face that it's a struggle between just being aghast still and also understanding in a very solemn way.
Mm-hmm.
But before she responds, Casey is now back holding your coat. It's done. And tell me, when you first gave the coat over, what was the color of it?
It was a. Do you mean what color did it look, or what color it should have been?
Well, you told me that it should have been white, so
Yes.
I didn't know what the current color was.
Oh. I mean, when he brought it in, it looked light gray, but that was mostly like grime. So it is a white coat. It is like just slightly off-white, just very slightly off-white. But it is not the like solid light gray color that it was when he brought it in.
Yeah, so when Casey very quietly spreads the coat out between the two of you, you notice that the stain, it is All right, I'm sorry. I was looking at nuts and bolts, and I'm gonna call you out, Magic. Please tell me it's pink. I'm crying. Listen, Casey does a very good job of cleaning things.
Oh boy.
I know it would have been funny. Wait, you know what? Hold on. Let me roll something.
Oh my god.
Wait, I gotta. Just give me a second.
There wasn't even anything pink on it.
I know, but hold on. I want to see what happens. I could do that or that, I guess. Okay. So, me pointing into the audience. This one's for you, Magic. When they have it about halfway spread onto this table, you are kind of surprised. This coat is no longer kind of a light gray. It is a pastel pink. And Amaryllis, you could see her eyes just kind of bug out for a hot second. And Casey goes, wrong coat. They grabbed the wrong coat on the way.
Oh, whoops.
I'm sorry. Let me just, and actually, and they actually go into the front pocket of their apron, and they actually pull out a different coat. This was the right one. Whoops. They kind of stuff the pink one back in their hammer space, the front of their apron.
Oh my gosh.
And Amaryllis has like a hand to her chest, like, oh, jeez. But
the professor looks almost like, well, he looks amused, and he's like, well, I'm glad it was a different coat, because I honestly I didn't think that that the coat could be pink. Like, there's a rule about what color it can be. I didn't think pink was an option.
But Casey spreads the correct coat onto onto the table, and this one, your coat, instead of the light gray, it is now a shimmering white. Now, you do notice that when you look at where the stain was, there is still a very, very faint outline of where it used to be. But otherwise, it looks pretty good. Especially since it was, beholder blood.
Yeah.
But,
no, he looks very pleased.
And Amaryllis just nods. Thank you, Casey. And Casey just gives one nod, like, okay.
Yes, thank you.
And now she kind of gives a little shooing motion. You can go now. And Casey just kind of tips her hat a little and then just leaves. Now we can get to work. And she looks at the coat with like a gleam in her eye, like, yeah, let's do this. Because, I mean, she does do costuming and tailoring for a living, or at least before she joined the troupe. So
right.
It looks like this was honestly more of her passion than anything. She takes a look at the kind of the stitch up patches there. She takes one look and goes, all right, who stitched this one?
He just sort of chuckles a little bit.
It's absolutely horrid.
I was in a hurry.
Oh, and for a moment she does look a little embarrassed, but then shakes it off. You really have to work on your sewing skills. And she starts removing some of the stitches. I'll fix this. And, but as she does so, uh, her smile kind of fades and she grows quiet.
Hmm.
I know that we weren't perfect. And I don't think a family could ever be perfect.
No.
But we just wanted to protect them.
How do you think? Do you have any idea how it went so wrong?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was being quiet. Do you have any idea how it went so wrong?
Um, and she actually stops removing the stitches for a moment. And she moves her hand and rolls down her sleeve
Mm.
and does reveal the runes to you.
Mm-hmm.
I know
Can
where it
I?
went wrong.
Oh,
I told you I was a bit of a wild child. And, well, when you're as impulsive and power hungry as I was, sometimes you associate with the wrong people.
yes. And
It was,
he looks a little like wary.
well, you asked me about my pact. I didn't
Did.
tell you what my patron was.
Mhm.
It's kind of ironic now, but it was one of the most terrible fiends out there. I say was because they don't talk to me as much. Not anymore. Perhaps they've grown weaker, or they haven't as much of a need for me anymore. Which is honestly a good thing. When I made that pact, that was the single worst mistake of my life. And I just didn't want Bevan to endure the same.
Oh, all right. So I understand your motives with talking then. But how how does how does a rebel child try, and I'm speaking of Annie this time, run run away from their parents and join a musical troupe and wind up nearly nearly to what is possibly as close to a sibling as they could have, very nearly shooting them in the head. How do you get there? Because I don't understand.
You
I
wouldn't
mean,
understand, would you?
he is quiet.
You wouldn't understand the kind of pressure. What do you think I ran away from? My parents were extremely overbearing, uptight, and then she has this terrible look of realization on her face. And she kind of holds her head in her hands. Oh, God. Oh God, I've become them. Oh, oh. And she kind of leans closer onto the table. She actually looks rather distraught.
Mm.
I
Uh, the professor sighs. Uh, you were was Amaryllis saying something?
say that again. I'm sorry.
Was Amaryllis saying something? I didn't want to cut you off there.
um, well, I mean, she actually seems a little shaken up, but
Mm.
she quickly composes herself.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm starting to understand. I really, I really shouldn't have been as hard on them as I was. I was,
Oof.
I was always on them to make sure that they do things properly. And she actually resumes removing the stitches and re-sewing a couple of patches. Um, she does like remove one or two to replace them with slightly better looking, or at least in terms of like the same quality or style of fabric. Of course, there isn't anything that is very similar to what you've got.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not quality wise, but like at least by color or by style. Um,
Sure.
she starts doing the the tailoring, and as she does so, you notice that she isn't just doing this because it's, the job she was tasked with, but it's kind of a way to keep focused and to keep centered.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't want them making the same mistakes that I did. I was ruthless, I was impulsive, completely socially inept. And I wanted the best for them, and yet the kind of undue pressure was exactly the same. The expectation, the need to please others, that wasn't right.
And then, of course, the jealousy, which Annie brought on the road.
It all makes sense now. I mean, I was an only child growing up, but when it comes to siblings, one can feel overshadowed by the other.
Indeed. Um, he's just standing and just sort of looking off into the middle distance, and he just looks kind of disappointed, just kind of morose.
And honestly, so does Amaryllis. The only difference is that she's staring at the work to be done. Um, and hold on, let me roll something. Let me see, I'll do that, or yeah, okay, we'll just do that. Okay. And so far, she is actually doing a very good job uh, sewing uh, sewing your coat back together.
That's good.
Me just rolling straight decks. Hopefully, we're fine. But once she's done with kind of the patches and making sure that things look crisp and clean. She has yet to start on the damage on the left shoulder. She pauses before, starting that section.
Would you like to roll, what would this be? Would you like to roll, possibly, investigation on, the coat there?
Yes, please. Hopefully she can redeem that. That's a 15,
All
at
right.
least it's better than before.
All right, a 15. All right. By the looks of it, Amaryllis knows enough about magic and about damage, about clothing, and about the materials that make it up, that and how they they settle on a person and all of that. Amaryllis can tell very plainly that whatever whatever caused that that blast, that hole burned through the legendary magical protection coat, it is centered exactly over where a human's heart would be from the back. And if the professor had been wearing it, that's where it looks like whoever got the damage was wearing it at the time, and it happened, and that's where it would have hit. And so that is the conclusion that Amaryllis is able to get from the coat.
And once she has come to this realization, she actually places down, the needle and thread and stands up and looks you dead in the eye. I have a question for you.
Yes?
What are you? Who are you? Not who do you think you are, no. Were you always wearing this?
Oh, always? No. But I have been wearing it for the past year or so. Pretty consistently.
She nods slowly. And then, were you wearing it when this damage happened?
Oy. Uh, he grimaces and he says, yes.
Then she looks from you to the coat and back to you. With that kind of trajectory and damage output, and as she says this, she's walking around the table and closer to you.
Mm-hmm.
You should be. Oh.
He stays put.
Oh. And she gets up, not like super duper close, but pretty close, to continue staring you down. You should be a dead man.
Yes. Yes. Well. I basically was.
And she takes a step back.
It did very, very, very nearly kill me.
Did someone... Go ahead.
If you'd like a look, there's no scar.
I can imagine. If someone revived you, there wouldn't really be a lot of scars.
Well, I'm not undead, if that's
I
what
know you're not.
All right, and he turns his head. Like you're behind him, but he turns his head to the side a little to like side eye, Amaryllis. And he says, "All right, well, what do you think happened?"
And she gets this pensive look on her face. Well, assuming what you have told me is true, which I guess it is, the only logical explanation, outside of anything I don't know, is that someone must have revived you. After all, that is what. And she stops for a moment. That was what Abby was planning with. Well. But.
Right.
Is that what happened?
You're close. I'll admit that much. It was less. No, I was not revived by anybody, but in a way, I revived myself. Which should be impossible, I understand that.
But she actually kind of, her face kind of just goes, oh, like, I just realized something. Were you reincarnated then?
Sort of. Not quite. I didn't. My mind, my soul is the same, but that body is gone. And he shrugs and he says, and this is the one I wear now.
And she is slowly nodding along. She's squinting, but you realize she is just trying to understand. It is actually not because she's skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
She is just trying to wrap her head around it.
The corner of his lip quirks up, and he says, would you like me to explain how that's possible? Because I can do it in just about one sentence.
It looks like she was going to say something, but then when you said one sentence, she kind of looks like, huh, really? Go ahead.
I am a member of a relatively rare race of people who live on another world far beyond these stars. In short, I am an alien.
And she actually gives a little bit of a smirk. That was 2 sentences, but yeah, makes sense.
He rolls his eyes.
But what kind of alien? You don't seem like a Martian, and she puts that in quotes. I don't even know what that is, though.
No, people from Mars, of course. But he shrugs, and at this point he turns around to face Amaryllis and sort of leans against the work table and shrugs and says, my people, such as they are known as time SARS. And it is very difficult. It is very, very difficult to kill a time SAR.
Should she roll insight or anything, or not insight, history or something?
Um, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, she has no freaking clue.
That works.
That tracks.
Because even if she got a crit, like there's only so much that she could like
Ascertain from that.
possibly have heard ever. Yeah, exactly.
And you can just see she does kind of have this serious look on her face, and then her eyebrow twitches again, and you can see like these question marks go up above her head, like, yeah, no, I have never heard of those.
He he tilts his head down and sort of rubs out his nose thoughtfully and looks away. And then he looks up again and he says, "Do you know what you've heard of celestials, angels?"
And she gives another scoff. Of course, I know what they are. And she actually kind of makes a gesture to her wrist, like, I know the other half.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he nods. He says, well, time stars are about the closest you can get while still being mortal.
And she blinks a few times, and then kind of has this look of you can still tell there's a little confusion, but there's also this kind of awe. But she kind of shakes her head for a second. We need to finish this coat, and she sits back down at the table. Now, and she points to the mark on the left. So,
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any suggestions? Did you just want me to sew this up? Did you want me to put a patch?
Suppose a patch will do.
And she nods. Okay. Any design?
Um. Oh boy.
As you're thinking about it, she goes and gets like a sewing machine. She's got like a couple of base patches. She goes through a few of the collection before picking one out that looks similar in color and kind of nice in texture to put on the back of this.
Mm-hmm.
I can put mostly anything on here, for the most part.
He thinks and there's twitches of his lips as he seems to think of something funny, but he shakes his head a little bit and says just something of a similar color or something to blend in would be good.
And she actually looks pretty pleased with that.
He thought of doing something really tacky.
Me, grabby hands. What's the tacky?
Well, he thought about being ironic and just putting a straight up heart patch on
it. Beautiful.
But he was like, nah.
She gets the patch necessary, but as she starts to try to sew a little bit, she realizes that this thread is not going to cut it. It's a regular kind of thread, but it's not quite holding it together. And this kind of frustrates her at first, but then she realizes what she needs to do. She removes that and goes over to a particular desk, looks through a drawer, and pulls out a very specific box, brings it over and opens it up. And you wonder why it might be isolated.
Yeah.
But it's much different.
Yes.
She
Sorry, I'm excited now.
Well, you did say this was a very special coat, so
I did.
Something like with this extensive damage needs something to kind of balance it out. So, you can roll Arcana. Why not?
Yes.
Roll it on this thread.
All right, please. Oh, okay. Dun, 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 dun. 19.
Ooh, 19. You can tell that this needle and thread are just radiating with some kind of transmutation magic.
Ooh.
But she does pause for a moment to kind of dip some of the thread into a color that is similar to the coat, because it does come only in black.
Ah.
But she has to soak it there for a moment. And but then she kind of attaches it to the needle. And as she does so, she mentions, "Now this one I got from a particular vendor. It should do the trick." And she gets to work, and you notice that this one is nearly seamless as it goes through. It, you start repairing some of the damage, and then affixing the patch to the area. But once the patch is on there, she hesitates over the front of the patch, and says, why don't you wait at the front? I'll have it there in a moment."
He raises an eyebrow.
I just need more concentration.
Don't do anything weird to it. But then he does leave and go to the
I'm not!
He goes to the front.
And so you wait there a little bit. As you do so, you notice Casey just kind of sweeping in the background. They have they're just have a little dustpan and a little broom. They look at you, and they just kind of give a polite wave.
He gives him a nod.
But not even like 5 minutes later, she comes back with the coat. "All right, it looks like it's all finished. Now, do you want me to put it in a box? You want me to wrap it? Do you want to just wear it?
He says, I'll just wear it, thank you. Yeah, and so does she give it,
She does hand it to you, but as she does so, you notice she's also holding a separate bag.
a bag?
Now, as for payment,
Yes.
I've thought of something else if you would be interested.
Oh?
We caused a lot of trouble for you folks, but you're not getting off of this for free.
No,
So-
I know, I didn't expect. No.
And she kind of gives a bit of a smirk. But since you are going to ask a few questions of Annie, do you mind giving this to her? And she holds this bag out to you.
He looks serious, and he nods, and he takes it, and he doesn't make a move to like look in it or anything.
And she gives a nod. I know that we've been around her longer than you have, but she's gotten exceedingly quiet since the incident. Perhaps if you do talk to her, she might listen.
I hope so.
And she actually gives a little bit of a hopeful smile. All right, well, looks like we're done.
He says, Amaryllis, thank you for talking to me.
And she pauses and then says, no, thank you for helping us, even when you really didn't have to. And I should probably say that I'm sorry for pulling you by your scarf.
Yeah, he just looks amused, and he says, don't even think about it.
She kind of gives a wry smile back.
All right, now how much do I actually owe you?
No, you don't actually owe anything. Your task is to kind of give that to her. And that should be enough payment.
All right, if you insist.
And she kind of... You realize that she is giving this time a rather genuine smile.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, no, that'll be it.
Nice. All right, I think then he's going to take a step back, put on the coat, adjust it, put the little bag in his pocket, and turn towards the door, and then turn back to Amaryllis and doff his hat and give a polite nod and head out.
She just gives a small wave back and turns back around to work back at the desk. And we kind of... I'm thinking now that we pan out and see the professor leave and go about his day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ah.
Whoa.
Oh boy.
I've got to say.
Whoa. Okay, let's... Yeah. Okay, thank you everybody for listening.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for playing with me.
Of course, thank you for playing with me. This is wonderful. Yeah, yeah, thank you, and thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Bye.